Chastity, and I make videos about my infertility journey and helpful tips to help you with yours. I'm so happy to be with you here again, and I wanted to start off the new year with our infertility journey that led to successful pregnancy and a healthy baby. My husband and I, John, we've been married 9 years now, and it took us about over 6.5 years before we were successful through IVF. And at the beginning of our journey, which was in 2011, we immediately started trying to have a baby, and we're excited and all of those emotions. A year went by and nothing happened. And so I started researching. I bought ovulation kits, and I bought a few fertility books and started following different YouTube channels about trying to conceive. We started timing our intercourse and nothing was happening. And so at this point I still wasn't concerned. A year went by, 2 years went by, and then 2013 is when I spoke to my OBGYN about difficulty trying to conceive. So at this point, OBGYN suggested I do some fertility testing, or infertility workup is what he called it, and that entailed different blood tests that included my thyroid levels, my different hormone levels at different stages of my menstrual cycle. And so I was in and out of the lab at different points of my cycle. So after my OBGYN suggested I do the infertility workup, that's when I started this YouTube channel. So it's been about 7 years ago since I started this channel to document our infertility journey and ultimately our success and having a healthy baby. And so the reason why I started this channel was to empower and encourage others who also may be struggling with trying to conceive, and just provide tips and helpful encouragement along the way. So at this point, I did all of the fertility testing as far as the blood work, and everything came back normal, except for one level, my AMH level. At this point, my husband and I were about mid-30s, and my AMH level was quite low for my age. So the doctor was a little concerned about that. He said that I may have an egg quality issue. That's when I started doing research on how to improve your egg quality. He also suggested that I do a HSG test, which is a hysterosalpingogram. It's an X-ray, and you can look it up. And during this test, you get dye that is injected into your uterus, and the whole goal is to make sure that there aren't any blockages in your fallopian tubes, and that the fluid flows, or the dye flows freely in your uterus and through your fallopian tubes. During this exam, I had so much pain, and I continued to stare at the screen, and I did not see any dye moving beyond my uterus. And so I knew that there was an issue there. The doctor who was handling the exam said, "Oh, you're probably fine." However, I was staring at that exam, and I knew that I did not see dye come anywhere near my fallopian tubes, neither did they flow through the tubes. So I knew at that point that was my major issue and why we haven't been able to conceive. So at that point, the doctor, my OBGYN, went over the results with me and said, "Oh, you're probably fine. Let's just do Clomid for 3 rounds and see if you get pregnant." Meanwhile, I'm trusting the doctor, and I hadn't really done too much research. Everything was all new and fresh. So I did the Clomid for 3 rounds. I didn't have any problem ovulating, and I still did not get pregnant. my OBGYN did not have any other suggestions other than continuing to do the Clomid, and that was all he suggested. So I found a different OBGYN. This doctor, she redid my blood tests to make sure my levels were either the same, normal, or improved. And she also did several ultrasounds and found that I had several fibroids. And she was concerned about this one fibroid that looked like it was located inside of my uterus, but she couldn't really tell from the ultrasound. So I had another scan. I think it might have been an MRI, it might have been a CAT scan. I can't remember. I had that exam done, and that gave her a clearer picture of the fibroid, and we discussed removing it. At this point, my husband and I, we determined that we were gonna start IVF because of the blocked tubes. And my doctor also, we discussed whether we should remove my fibroid because that may be an issue for when I get pregnant. So after talking to the OBGYN and my husband, we all decided that I would go ahead with the surgery. So I had a laparoscopic myomectomy. This was in 2014, and she removed the fibroids that I had. And then during that surgery, she also did another dye test. She actually did 2 dye tests. She did a dye test before she removed the fibroids, and then she did a dye test after she removed the fibroids. And she found that I have a rare condition. And if you guys go back to our original, our infertility journey video, our very first video that we did, I explain in detail exactly what it is. I would have to have IVF. I would not be able to have a normal conception without IVF. You know, my emotions were flustered. At first I was, devastated knowing my condition, and at the same time I was hopeful because, okay, well, now we have some answers and now we have a solution. I'm looking for how to solve this problem that we have. So we moved forward with the surgery. It was a successful surgery, and then she explained the test, the dye test, and she gave me a referral to a local fertility doctor in San Diego, California. So I went to that fertility doctor. My husband and I, we went and had our initial consultation with the doctor. I did not like the doctor because it felt like I was being sold a car. She talked really fast. She barely answered our questions. She just kind of skimmed over a bunch of different details that I wanted her to take her time on. I didn't like the doctor, but I was trusting that, the only thing wrong with me was that my fallopian tubes were blocked. So if we did the IVF and she placed the embryo in my uterus, I would get pregnant. So I went with that doctor. We started the IVF treatment. So I had my surgery, I think it was June of 2014. And then we started the IVF treatments in September, I believe, is when I started stimulation, or October. And we started that process. I was on the normal medication. I started with estrase, the estrogen, priming, and then I was on Follistim for several days, and I did the trigger shot. I was in and out of the fertility clinic, and they were monitoring me and looking at my follicles, and it varied between 10 to 13, so everything was looking great there. I was responding well to the medication. And then we had the egg retrieval. At the egg retrieval, she retrieved 5 eggs. Yes, it was 5 eggs, and then only 2 fertilized out of the 5. So I was concerned because this whole time I thought I had more than 10, follicles growing healthy, nice and large. And then I had, less than half that she retrieved. So I was a little upset, frustrated about that, but I was still at the same time grateful to have the 2 embryos, and they were growing along fine. And then I got a call saying that she wanted to transfer them on day 3. And she explained why, mainly because of my egg quality and my age. She wanted to transfer them and get them back to my body where they could, adapt and thrive and grow. So on the 3rd day, we went in and did our fresh embryo transfer and waited, the 10 days and went back in for the blood test, and my results were negative. I do have a video talking about when IVF fails, and that was the most difficult video I've ever filmed. And I was like basically on the verge of tears that entire video, and I had to stop and re-record it. But I felt that I needed to share that information because you may be going through the same thing, and I want you to know that you can do it, and I want you to be hopeful, and I want to encourage you that this is a tough journey, but you're tougher, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So at this point, my husband and I were both devastated that it didn't work. So I went back to the, what the heck happened appointment, and she basically explained that most likely it was my egg quality that caused, the embryos not to implant. And then she immediately referred me to an egg donor specialist, and I had a meeting with an egg donor specialist. That was the last day I was at that clinic, and so I spent that was the end of 2014. I spent the next almost 3 years researching almost every clinic in the United States, fertility clinic in the United States and worldwide, Barbados, Asia, a lot of different places. I was looking at different fertility clinics. And through my research and based on, my situation, I found a fertility clinic that was excellent results, especially for women over 35. And with my condition, the doctor was great. So that fertility clinic it's located in Orange County. My husband and I went there for our initial consultation, and I felt so comfortable and confident in this doctor because she was confident. She looked at my chart, she looked at all the details, she asked me a ton of questions, and she was confident that based on my case and my situation that she could get me pregnant. So leaving that consultation, I was so excited. It was like we had a fresh start, and my husband and I were both hopeful. We were excited to start this journey again. And then, we were just trying to figure out the financial portion. For our first IVF, we used a lot of our savings and paid cash for that IVF cycle. And so at this point, we were still saving up enough to be able to pay for another IVF. And at the time of our initial consultation, we did not have the total amount needed to do another IVF. So we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. And my husband got a text. He received a text from one of his longtime friends and shared that he would pay for our IVF for us. We were in tears, and we were so emotional and crying and so thankful. And so for our IVF number 2 and IVF number 3, they were both gifted to us by this friend, and we are eternally grateful to him and his family for being so generous. So after that, we went back to the doctor and we started IVF. So that was in 2017, and I had my first egg retrieval in November. I believe it was right before Thanksgiving. I had the egg retrieval, and my new fertility doctor suggested that I do 2 IVF cycles before transferring the embryos, because she wanted to bank as many embryos as she could because I was older. So I liked that suggestion and we went for it. We did IVF number 2 and we did the egg retrieval, and then we did another IVF in February, I believe. Yes, February of 2018. And so after that, we ultimately had a lot of embryos that we were excited about, and we had them tested, PGS tested. But we have frozen embryos now. So from those frozen embryos, we selected a boy, the first transfer to be a boy, and he was transferred on May 23rd of 2018. And that whole experience was amazing. The doctor, the medical staff, the nurses, everyone in that fertility clinic is amazing. And they love what they do, and they make you feel so special, like you are the only one in that clinic. So we had our transfer. We were so excited. Let me back up. We had acupuncture, or I had acupuncture right before the transfer, which is amazing. Then I had the transfer, came out and had acupuncture again, which was also amazing. So relaxing. I was on cloud 9. I went home, relaxed, kicked up my feet, and relaxed and let the embryo do its thing. So that night, I had this excruciating pain. I mean, like bend over, stop you in your tracks, pain. And I was thinking, I wonder if that's implantation that quickly. And I believe it was, because it was so intense. I had to lay down and like go to sleep because I was like cramping. There was a sharp stabbing pain, and then I was cramping, and I just said, let me just go to sleep so I can relax and not think about it, not worry about it. And I believe that it's implantation, and I'm grateful, I'm thankful. I prayed and I went to sleep. I didn't have my blood test, my beta test, until 10 to 12 days after the transfer, and we did a 5-day embryo transfer, frozen embryo transfer. And one day I needed to order another vitamin, and I wanted to see whether I still needed to order that vitamin or not. So I took a pregnancy test. I wasn't thinking it was going to be positive. I wasn't thinking it was going to be negative. You know, I've never seen a positive pregnancy test before this whole time. And I take the test and it's immediately positive, like bright pink lines on, like as soon as I started peeing, bright pink lines show up on the test. And I'm so overjoyed and I'm so thankful and grateful. And I tell John and he's super excited. We're like crying, and then I go back to the fertility clinic for my beta test, and the nurse is like, do you know already? I said, yes. She said, did you take a test? I said, yes, it's positive. And they were all excited. And then I got my blood test back, and I had really high beta numbers, so everything looked good. At this point, we're pregnant. We went in for our first ultrasound at 6 weeks and 5 days. We saw a nice, strong heartbeat. The baby was growing normally, growing great, looking good. And I went back again for, I believe, an 8-week ultrasound, and the baby was larger, like a little gummy bear, and so cute. And then I went back again for my last graduation appointment. I was crying, so thankful to the doctor and the staff, and that was it. I mean, that's our entire infertility journey. I will go through my IVF story at a later date. Feel free to look back at my videos. That was the actual first IVF cycle. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that this journey has inspired you in some way. Feel free to leave a comment below and let me know how you are doing in your journey. Are you pregnant? Are you trying to conceive? Are you in the waiting process? Please let me know below and share some advice for others as well, as far as just staying hopeful and encouraged during this journey. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy videos like this. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Take care. Bye.